two. Test 1, 2. 3, 2, 1. And we're live. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hope you're doing well today. Happy Tuesday, April 15th. It's tax day. Look out. Everybody's calling their accountants today, making sure we're getting it done, guys. No, hopefully you guys are done with all that. Let's talk about some breaking crypto news. There's always breaking crypto news. If you guys watch the crypto report, you know that. Honestly, if you like crypto at all, you see a lot of breaking news every day. Still in times of uncertainty, if you wonder, man, how does this guy do a live stream every day? How does this channel put out so much crypto content? Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of crypto news, but at times like these, when there's uncertainty, it is difficult to get out content. It is difficult to get out content, but there is still news in all this chaos and all this uncertainty. And certainly the most important thing to recognize is when it is the most difficult to pay attention, when it is the least desirable to pay attention, when it was the least exciting for the market, when things are painful, when they're boring, when they're slow, when there's blood in the streets. These are the best times for accumulation historically. I just recorded an XRP video that's coming out later today. There's a little bit of news about XRP I'm going to break down in my video later on. I'm going to mention it here in this one slightly. But we got to talk about all this crazy stories because there's a lot going on. We've got the markets coming back a little bit. The traditional markets coming back. S&P 500's back up a little bit. Bitcoin touched 86K earlier today, back down to 85. Are we still at risk of dropping down to 71? I think, yes, we could. Does that scare me? No. I'm looking for accumulation zones, accumulation territories, especially for Bitcoin over time. That's the way that I think about it. Shout out to the chat. Welcome back. Kelly, welcome back. Daryl, welcome back. Club Crow, Crypto Keeper, Ray Khan, W Cortez, Jimmy Lip, Reggie, and Miller in the chat to kick it off. Welcome back, folks. Shout outs to you. Let's go ahead and share the screen. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to start with this, okay, guys? Let's start with this. There we go. Thought I had a screen share problem. We got it. So just like looking at a bunch of the news stories for Yahoo Finance, you can kind of get the temperature of like where everybody's mind's at right now. Investors are piling into stocks amid Trump's tariff turmoil. Reading into this a little bit, the fallout from President Trump's tariff announcements hasn't yet pushed investors to shy away from old habit. I think that old habit is buying the dip. We buy stocks over time, and even when things are at their worst, there are going to be people that are buying the dip. People have jobs, companies make money, companies and people like to invest in the market, because the market historically goes up and to the right over time. I don't think that the United States is going to be falling out of the leadership board on the international stage anytime soon. In fact, these tariff negotiations are showing how much of a fulcrum America is in the grand scheme of the macroeconomic picture. As is the dollar, okay? The dollar is still very important. Certainly losing some favor here and there. We've talked about some stories over the years with some of the trade, like between Russia, Saudi Arabia, I believe, and like China moving away from the dollar standard. We do need to get the problems with the dollar solved. And the more problems we see with tariffs and the dollar and with uncertainty, the stronger Bitcoin becomes. That's just how That's how it works. It's kind of why Bitcoin was created. You can't print more of it. You don't have to trust anybody with it. It's just there's Bitcoin. There's 21 million. They're mined in a consistent period of time, released according to the schedule. And that's it. It's there. It's better than the dollar. And over time, more and more people are figuring that out, which is why you have people like Michael Saylor that now have 500,000 Bitcoin, which is just wild. We're still getting some conversations, about these tariffs and making progress, but quote, little progress. On top of this, check out this little post here by Watcher Guru. China says it will only engage in trade talks with the U.S. if its leaders show respect for Beijing. So we're just not out of the woods, okay? We're just simply waiting on resolve between the two biggest countries in the world, which are in a trade battle, a tariff battle. The tariff negotiations are very, very interesting for many reasons, but one of the most newest interesting things that kind of came out of all these discussions about tariffs is yet another piece about Bitcoin. Let's look at this. This is very interesting. Breaking news, breaking crypto news. The Trump administration says tariff revenue could be used to buy Bitcoin. I like these tariffs. These tariffs are great. Everybody's talking about the tariffs. Some people don't like them too much. I like them quite a bit. Quite a bit we've been getting taken advantage of for years. And I love Bitcoin. Bitcoin loves me. Bitcoin actually loves me the most. And truly, if we're making all this money from tariffs, could you believe it? We're going to take our tariffs, we're going to take our revenue, and we're going to buy that Bitcoin, baby. I wish that he said all those things. He didn't. But what did happen was Bo Hines, the executive director of the President's Council of Advisors on Digital Assets. The President's Council of Advisors on Digital Assets, what title, of the White House. President's Council of Advisors on Digital Assets of the White House. That's the longest title in the history of anybody ever. Bo Hines stated that the administration is pursuing inventive avenues to obtain more Bitcoin, including tariff revenue and revalued gold reserves. Are we selling gold for Bitcoin? Right? These conversations happening are beautiful. Now, this all came out in a conversation with Anthony Pompliano. Anthony Pompliano, big Bitcoiner. I met Anthony Pompliano, Mr. Pompliano. Couldn't have been a nicer fella. I met him. I shook his hand. I took a picture with him. Me and Black C did. And I asked him, because he does a lot of crypto content, I asked him, hey, what's the piece of advice you'd have for, a small to medium-sized channel that's looking to do this into the future? The answer he gave me was, live streams. So we love the live streams. He actually said you should do 2-hour live streams. I can't do 2-hour live streams, Anthony. I got a day job, and I need that day job. We like that day job. BSS says, I got no eyes. I don't even use them. I know what you're quoting. I don't even have eyes. I don't even use them. Who looks at the market? What are eyes anyway? Frankly, I don't even think they exist. According to Hines, one of the most discussed proposals is Senator Cynthia Lummis's, her Bitcoin Reserve Act of 2025. How about that for a title? That the U.S. Treasury gold certifies, currently valued at $43 an ounce, be revalued to market price, currently sitting at $3,223 per ounce. The revaluation could provide a significant amount of money to buy Bitcoin for the nation's reserves without taking on any new debt. So we've got these ideas going on. These ideas are going on in the middle of, the chaos that is tariffs. But maybe tariffs could be a good thing. The tariffs are a good thing for Bitcoin, okay? In the long run, because it tells us that, hey, why are we doing tariffs? Because we got a lot of problems. Why do we have a lot of problems? Because we don't manage our money right. That doesn't bring a vote of confidence for the dollar. And if we're looking for, the best money, Bitcoin is kind of the best money, and the US government wants more of it. They don't want to buy it with our tax dollars, but they might want to buy it with these tariff dollars, which is cool. It could be cool. It could be huge. Absolutely huge. So look out for that. Could be kind of cool. Let's look at the charts here. Let's take a step back. Let's start fresh, guys. Let's look at our big gainers for the day, our big losers. First of all, Bitcoin's down to 84,900. Earlier today, everybody was excited. It was back up to 86, but we're chopping. Chop. We're in the chop. And with that, our trading opportunities, you want to trade, sign up for Blowfin using our link down below. Shiboing. Okay? $5,000 bonus when you sign up. Shiboing. You got it? Okay. If you want to trade, guys, I like this platform. And like, again, yesterday Bitcoin was at 83. It went to 86. On these volatilities, you can make some money trading if you want to do it. We're not shooting up, but we're not collapsing. XRP's holding very strong above $2 right now. Let's look at our big gainers for the day. Mantra's recovering a little bit. Still crushed from where it was. This thing basically died yesterday. We talked all about that story. $6 billion wiped out. Millions and millions of dollars of liquidations. Probably some strategic investors, partners with Mantra, were selling is kind of what it looks like. This happens in crypto, unfortunately, guys. Jerry Young says, but aren't the tariff dollars your tax dollars? If the American companies that import goods that pay the tariffs, which get passed on to the consumer, you have a very, I mean, you could make that argument. But I mean, are the company's money my money? No, like the companies aren't my money. Now, the prices that we pay, we have a tax on our prices of goods. You could call that a tax on the consumer. But if we're making more money as a nation and we're retaining more money from not blowing it on these tariffs, now we've got extra money sitting around. Like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with that money? It's going to be interesting. I don't know. Look, I'm not the expert on this stuff. These are just all speculations, and I think it's interesting. If there's a world where somehow tariffs can be used to buy whatever we make extra. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Crypto Kip. We got a protein shake from Mrs. Crypto Kip. She did a bow. You should have seen it. It was spectacular. If somehow we can have some extra money from these tariffs that we could buy Bitcoin with, I think that's a good thing. Yeah. Daryl, you're with me now. Well, pump BTC with it. I'm not worried. Yeah, I mean, look. Taxes, don't even get me started on taxes, okay? Just taxes in general, like, it's disgusting, it's despicable. Where do those tax dollars go? Then we dive down the Doge rabbit hole, and we don't need to go there. But I think it's good that we're like looking into things, okay? And you can do too much, you can do too little. There's a balance. Tariffs are an interesting topic. I, for the most part, agree with tariffs. Just how do we implement them? And what is it doing to these markets? But even with the negative thing that it's doing to the markets, I like these dollar cost averaging opportunities, folks. I really, really do. I really do. Scott says, did you hear Paul Atkins will be sworn in by Donald Trump on Friday of this week? Hey, there you go. That could be a nice little event. Maybe our XRP lawsuit's finally going to come to an end for the 10,107th time. That'd be neat. But the big gainers today, Mantra is just having a recovery story, is for some reason pumping a little bit today, sitting at a $1 billion market cap. Again, this is kind of a new up and coming coin. I don't even dabble with something like this where there's not a huge thing going on with this. Not a ton of excitement behind the story coin from what I've picked up. Toncoin still very strong. I think this one's a strong one for the future, probably up a little bit today, but nothing's soaring. Nothing's really dying today either. Pi hanging out above 50 cents still. I'm very curious to see the future of Pi. I'll tell you that. That's going to be very interesting to watch Pi. But yeah, not a lot of wild moves today. For Bitcoin, I think it's the best one to be trading if you're trading. Want to look at this with you guys really quickly. Percentage returns. Right now we are in the green for April. Let me double check that. Right now, April is a green month. We are seeing some shifts here from the odds of a rate cut perspective. Not necessarily the best for Bitcoin. What we're looking at is the June odds, which have shifted 30% chance now that we're not going to get a rate cut by June. It's climbing up, guys. I don't love to see it. Okay, it's climbing up. And again, the reasons for that is the uncertainty with China and this tariff battle going on. So as that's happening, April, we've had some really good Aprils. We've had some tough Aprils. The tough Aprils are typically in the bear markets. We had a tough April in the middle of a very upward time back in 2024. If we get a red April, I feel like we should be getting some of these months to be green because, again, I think that the end of this bull market is October 2025, historically speaking. And every day, I just a little bit more, I start to believe in that maybe our 4-year cycles are shot. And before you get all excited and go, or scared and go, oh, well, then the bull market's over and crypto's dead. Or before you go and say, oh, well, the bull market's going to keep going forever. I'm not saying either of those things when I say the 4-year cycles could be done. What I'm kind of saying is like the pretty specific trend of like 2.5, 3 years of lows and then like a beautiful rally for 400 days or whatever it is. Like maybe that's kind of done. Maybe we don't have like the traditional bear market and the traditional bull market. Maybe we're just kind of in a longer term bull market for crypto. Crypto is going to grow over time, Bitcoin specifically, and many altcoins like XRP or Solana or Cronos or whatever it might be that you love. That's a good one. And instead of having these crazy, insane explosions that are 100x plays, maybe we're getting, definitely getting less 100x plays as time goes on, and even less so over time. But instead of going into these dramatic bear markets where we're always coming down 90%, maybe only the bad coins are coming down, 90%. And what are good coins? Good coins would be the coins that are going to get the ETFs, right? The ones that are going to have institutional adoption, the XRPs and the Solanas and the Cardanos of the world, right? And what you're kind of going to see maybe is this world where, yes, we're going to have a lot of volatility, but just generally kind of up with periods of just nothing and then up and then pause and just like kind of what we're going on right now. What is happening right now feels like it doesn't make sense, right? But it still kind of does. So I'm not telling you that I'm abandoning the 4-year cycle, but I'm telling you that I've thought about it more so than ever before. Chris Marsliak is convinced that the 4-year cycles are dead. But I'm not yet. I'm just not done with them yet. Chef X3, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm well. Are you well, brother? Hope you're doing well. I'm a little tired today. I don't know why I'm so tired today. It's very strange. I shouldn't be this tired today. But anyway, I remain bullish, guys. I remain annoyed. I am annoyed. I'm bored with the price action. It's fun for trading, but I'm bored with my holding bags, I'm going to talk more about this later today, but we do have other ETFs. Like this is kind of back to, if this 4-year cycle thing's done, what's going to keep going up over time? What's going to have less volatility downside? Well, maybe XRP, a Solana, a Doge. I don't know if these are going to have those 90% crashes. Like Doge, Solana, and XRP all holding up pretty well. Solana had a I think a bigger crash than Doge and XRP. But it also had like the biggest run of any major L1 out there, which is important and significant. How's it going, John? How you doing, John? Good to see you. Good to see you. I want to dive more into what Daryl said about that. I gotta think about it. I'm a little slow today, Daryl, admittedly. Not feeling my sharpest. I don't know what's going on. I think I got good sleep. I'm just wiped out today. But XRP is the most likely to get a spot ETF approval ahead of Sol and Doge. I talk more about this later today. So check out the video I've got. Right now it's live for our members, but it's coming out at 2:30 p.m. For the public. Okay. It's an interesting conversation, Daryl. I can't really dive into that right now. But I'd like to. I think it's an interesting conversation. Perhaps on a different channel. South Korea cracks down on 14 unregistered crypto exchanges on Apple's App Store. So, crypto's mainstream now, guys. Banks, institutions, you've seen it. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, more bullish than ever before, which is why it's so frustrating with this price action right now. But there are some challenges still. South Korea cracks down on 14 unregistered crypto exchanges on Apple's App Store. South Korea's latest directive includes a warning of several legal consequences for non-compliant crypto exchanges. KuCoin, MEXC, Femex, Bitmart, CoinX, Poloniex, BitTrue, oh no, Blowfin, CoinW, BTCC, ZoomX, and CoinCatch. So, Apple boxed out South Koreans in the App Store from these specific exchanges. It's interesting. Why? Let's look at this. According to the agency, the platforms failed to register under South Korea's digital asset regulations, which requires exchanges to comply with anti-money laundering laws and register with local authorities. The rules apply to any foreign operator offering services in Korean, conducting local marketing campaigns, or facilitating transactions in Korean won. The FIU emphasized that restrictions protect consumers, and it's the same lines that we heard about the SEC here in the US and registering with the SEC. I would wonder how easy it was to register. I would wonder if these exchanges tried to register. Specifically KuCoin and MEXC and Femex. These are big exchanges, guys. And I'd be surprised if they didn't do their due diligence and try to get into the... That's a big economy. They got a lot going on in South Korea. I would be surprised if they didn't do it. I'd be surprised, but, they warn that non-compliant crypto exchanges may face legal consequences, including up to 5 years in prison and fines up to 50 million Korean won. That's $35,000 and 5 years in prison. But I guess they don't have to worry about prison time or penalties now because they just you can't even get to it in the App Store. So I don't know. Maybe it's the advertising is what it sounds like. But, despite global adoption, there are still some regulatory challenges, which kind of leaves the question to like, if there's favoritism that then goes on, like, is there going to be favoritism? Like, does somebody on the South Korean, FIU, Financial Intelligence Unit, have a stake in Binance or something and not in, is that going on? You wonder, you speculate, you wonder, you ask the questions, you think about these things. I think about these things. I think it's always fun to think about these things. But we are in a good spot with crypto. Bitcoin's hovering at 85K. One of the Fed guys I think he's on the board of governors, I believe. Fed's Waller, a fella, was part of the conversation with Fed Chair Jerome Powell, suggests bad news, rate cuts if tariffs resume. I got to read into this a little more. Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller indicated potential rate cuts if Trump tariffs return. Well, EU delayed retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. Now, to me, suggests bad news, rate cuts if tariffs return. I don't think rate cuts are bad news, so I don't know why he's classifying that as bad news per se. Tariff effects on output and employment could be longer lasting and an important factor in determining appropriate stance of monetary policy. If the slowdown is significant and even threatens a recession, then I would expect to favor cutting the FOMC's policy rate sooner and to a greater extent than I had previously thought. Further easing concerns was the European Commission, the executive arm of the EU, confirming to hold off retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, blah, blah, blah. What they don't talk about in this article, from what I'm seeing, is why this is bad news. I don't really see why this is bad news. Oh, I get it. Okay, so they're saying would trigger the need for sizable bad news rate cuts. And so they're classifying the rate cuts as bad news rate cuts. They're rate cuts because of bad news. So it's good news. Okay? But even though we're hearing this, and I do think that some tariffs are going to return, by the way. Not all of them, but some. I mean, it kind of tells us that we're going to get rate cuts. But again, what I don't love to see is the odds shifting in the wrong direction. And even an 8% chance, it's an increase to July. You know, we're looking at July, maybe no rate cut by July, but still good odds, still good enough odds. Very uncertain, I know. Another factor we've got going on that could be holding crypto back is this politicization. Is that the word? Crypto is now political. Is the easy way to say it. Critics slam deregulation of crypto as Trump family expands its footprint in the industry. And, you know, the reality is the president has some of the harshest critics ever. You might say for good reason. Some might say, you know, the witch hunt thing or whatever. My point here is that he is a very controversial guy, whether you love him or don't. Okay? And unfortunately, as good as it is that we have a president that's bullish on crypto, it's not probably helpful to progress crypto if the Trump family is expanding into the business, because clearly there is resistance to that name. Clearly there is resistance to anything that he's kind of doing, as there would be for, you know, the previous administration with the right. And this is the politics of it. It could be holding back our crypto market. It could be holding back our crypto market, guys. The politics behind it could be holding back our crypto market. As much as it is a good thing, all the things that Trump wants to do for crypto and talks about doing for crypto, the fact that Trump is talking about crypto could be just bad for crypto. Does that make sense to you guys? In the long term, we're moving in the right direction. Crypto's here to stay. It's bigger before than it's ever been. There are more positive stories about it. But then there are also like these complaints. Critics slam deregulation of crypto because he's trying to just help his family business, right? Do you see why I say this? These are the games that happen with spin, the media, the news. And look, certainly got to be advantageous to be getting your family into the business at the time you're deregulating the stuff. Not doubting that, but simply pointing out that this is an issue for people. And everything that he might want to do for crypto, there could be just some like opposition on that. Now, we've gotten some things passed. He's got executive orders. We did have a bill pass recently, like the first true crypto bill actually passed recently. So again, head in the right direction, but trying to decipher why we're on such a pause right now. And you know the main reasons, but this is another reason that I think everybody maybe forgets about, and I think we kind of need to recognize. S&P 500 is up a little bit today. Dow's up, Nasdaq's up, stocks are up a little bit, but again, EU talks for tariffs make little progress, okay? China, this is how they're poising themselves. Back to the word poise. It's just where we're at, guys. All right. Let's do a little Q&A. Let's look at some charts here, see what's going on. In terms of the total market cap, these are the levels I've been looking at. Right here, this is the key level for me. These weekly candle highs back in March of 2024. We're above them right now, but on this new weekly candle, if this thing's not green, we're probably coming back lower to 2.43 or maybe even 2.14 potentially for total market cap. That brings Bitcoin back to 71K probably. Bitcoin on its weekly time frame, this weekly candle's higher than the trend line I was looking at here. I'd like to see us stay above it to keep total market cap coming up, but if Bitcoin slips lower, total market cap, like they're all corresponded to each other, guys. We want to see Bitcoin hold above this. We want to see total market cap hold above this to get continuation to the upside. That's my belief. Let's look at Bitcoin's price action this morning because we are having a lot of volatility. A lot of chop, guys. We got all the way up to 86.4. Bitcoin's down 2% almost since this morning. Could easily come back down to 83K. Maybe a potential opportunity for a long at 83K. Long support, short resistance. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's look at some 4-hourly candles here. Resistance is going to be up around that 88 again. It's another level of resistance for us. Kind of rejected off of it twice. What's going on in the chat? Chris, Alanis, chilling, good. David says, I'm an optimist. This sucks. I'm with you, man. I'm right with you. I'm an optimist, but it does suck. David says, bro, I'm so bearish. Help me, bro. You know, I'm not bearish. I'm just like annoyed, you know, and bored and impatient, you know. And while I'm all those things, I'm a buyer. When the bulls are bearish or neutral, it's a good time for accumulation, guys. Kathleen McDonald says, TBH, BlackRock has put their entire 11.7 trillion holdings into XRP. When Ripple and the US Gov finally flip the switch, probably on November 25th, then I believe XRP will be worth thousands. You think you're calling $1,000 XRP predictions? I don't know. New fiscal year starts on 10/1/2025. For what? The government? For XRP? I want to hear it start before then. The Fed will be gone. Those are bold predictions, Kathleen. I like your flavor. Let me tell you. I like what you're saying just because it's fun. I don't buy into it though. I'm not really a guy that's going to get behind the $1,000 XRP price. I had a hard time getting to a $20 XRP price potentially, but I'll tell you, I do believe that now. I do, and maybe even $100. $1,000 is, or into the thousands. That's something. Let me tell you. Yeah, exactly, David. Exactly. It'd be in the multi trillions, maybe even 100 trillion. It'd be crazy. I'm not going to do that math right now. ChevX3 says, I'm thinking of moving everything back to BTC and DCA again for the next few years. I'll be honest, I'm down big time on everything else. Stacks killed me big time. And Crow, same story. Hey, you're not alone, brother. You're not alone. Altcoins got everybody crushed, you know. Stacks certainly didn't do what I wanted it to do. Didn't really even get a lot of profits out on that one. That's kind of one that really got me as well. But some of the others, especially the memes, made out like a bandit on some of those. It was great. And some other altcoins as well, you just take profit on the way up and you avoid these tough times, but it happens. You're not alone, that's for sure. Problem is moving your alts into Bitcoin right now is, panic selling the lows for altcoins and buying the top of Bitcoin. Now, I don't mind having Bitcoin as your main strategy. In fact, I love it. But panic selling your altcoins at the lows to buy Bitcoin, if Bitcoin dominance slips back down, and it could, it looks like it's just going to continue to skyrocket. 70%, 73% could be the high. Maybe we see resistance there. I think there's still going to be an altcoin season. Chris talking about Mantra. Yeah, Mantra. I like that I didn't buy that. Marlon says stacks kill me, but I'm staking it now and getting laughable amounts of BTC stats for it now. Laughable in a good way. They do have good staking rewards, but Club Crow says, I like the new haircut. Gives you more time to make Crow updates instead of styling your hair. Ha! Oh, I should have done a Crow video today. That's right. Lexi didn't do one this morning. I did an XRP video today. Your thoughts on Bitcoin not living up to the expectations of transactional use, like Jack Dorsey states. I never really bought into the transactional use thing. Bitcoin for a cup of coffee. I mean, you can do that. It's never what I just looked at. It's like, you're not going to sell your gold for coffee. It's just a store of value. It's just, why do people buy the S&P 500? Not because you're buying a cup of coffee with it, because it goes up over time and it's an investment into the major companies and, the world. And why do you buy Bitcoin? Well, it's the same reason you buy gold, because it's a hedge against inflation. It's a safe haven asset. It's got good economics behind it. You can't print more. It's better than the dollar. I don't like the whole, everybody's going to be doing everything in Bitcoin. You're going to buy your movie tickets with Bitcoin. No, I don't know. I never really subscribed to that. Though I do think that there are going to be people that do it, and there are people that do it, and there will be people that do it, and it will get more popular, but it's not the reason for it, Is that really what Jack Dorsey's whole, is that his main thesis? I didn't know that. I didn't know that Jack Dorsey was thinking like that. $25 Bitcoin a week. It's really added up over the years. Sugar Plum says, I've been buying $25 of Bitcoin every week. It's really added up over the years. You're darn right it does. That's the DCA, legendary DCA story that I like to hear. Love that. Short-term bearish. Hopefully it'll play out well for me in the long term. Always bullish, says Simon Kelly, and I'm with you. Sugar Plum says, I'm taking profits on Ohm. It was a good DGen play. Oh, did you just leverage Ohm at the bottom? Nice. There you go. Any news about Pepe? No news about Pepe. Pepe ETF probably. I don't know. I don't even think we have submissions for that, but probably going to come, I think. I'm bullish on Pepe still. I think it's the top meme, so. John G says you have to wait for the next wave. Get in, then get out. Don't be greedy. Absolutely. Ride the wave, and then, get out at the top of the wave. That's if you can. So. Bitcoin pizza. All right, guys. Have you liked this video yet, by the way? Have you smashed the like button? Have you subscribed to the channel? Check it out. If you haven't done so, you should. Solana ETF in Canada this week. I'm going to be getting a bunch in my tax-free savings. There you go. Nice. Solana ETF. Is that a spot ETF, Daryl? I wonder. All right, guys. Well, I'm tired today, but you know what? I'm going on a run. Pick myself up, get moving. Go do an exercise, find the energy back, and hit it twice as hard when I get back. That's right. That's all I got in this one, guys. I'm Crypto Kip. This is the Crypto Report. Smash a like. Subscribe to the channel. Until next time, DCA, HODL. Do your own research, guys. You want to do some trading, check it out. Links down below. $5,000 sign-up bonus when you deposit some money if you want to check it out. Until next time, deuces. See you guys. All love, friends. Peace.